Letter from His Excellency Keo Chhea, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of Cambodia to the United Nations, UN, to His Excellency Samuel Žbogar, Permanent Representative of Slovenia and President of the UN Security Council for December 2025, regarding a series of unlawful acts of armed aggression by the Thai armed forces against the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Cambodia. Excellency, on the instruction from my government, I have the honor to bring to the urgent attention of the United Nations Security Council on a series of unprovoked, unlawful, and escalating acts of armed aggression committed by the Thai armed forces against the Kingdom of Cambodia over the recent days. These military operations constitute a serious breach of the Charter of the United Nations, including the peremptory prohibition on the threat or use of force, and amount to serious violation of international humanitarian law, Cambodia's sovereignty and territorial integrity, as well as the fundamental principles governing peaceful relations between states. On the 7th of December 2025, at 14:15, Thai armed forces opened fire on Cambodian positions with heavy weapons, continuing until 14:32. Later that same day, from 20:02 until 20:50, they fired numerous mortar rounds aimed at multiple Cambodian locations. On the 8th of December 2025, beginning at 5:04, Thai forces began firing live rounds and escalated their assault by using mortars, tanks, heavy artillery, drones, warplanes, and toxic smoke against our positions in multiple areas along the border in Preah Vihear and Odar Meanchey provinces. These assaults, which were further intensified by Thailand's deployment of fighter aircrafts, have been brutal and indiscriminate, and conducted in the most blatant disregard of civilian lives and in total disrespect of international humanitarian norms. Furthermore, Thai forces extended their attacks into non-combat, civilian zones within Banteay Meanchey province in violation of bilateral agreements and terms set forth in the Kuala Lumpur Peace Accord to settle the border dispute and border demarcation through peaceful means and international law, and to refrain from the threat or use of force. As I write this letter, Thai armed forces continue expanding their attacks into other non-combat civilian zones within two other Cambodian provinces, Pusat and Battambang. These ongoing aggressions have resulted in numerous death and injuries, including innocent civilians, extensive destruction of their homes, public infrastructure, and protected national heritage monuments, including the Temple of Preah Vihear. Thailand's deliberate and indiscriminate targeting of civilian areas constitutes a serious breach of international humanitarian law, in particular with regards to its obligations to distinguish at all time between civilian and military targets and prohibition of attacks at civilians. Despite these serious provocations, Cambodia has remained fully committed to its obligations as set forth in the Charter of the United Nations, most importantly, Article 2.3 on the peaceful settlement of disputes, and Article 2.4 on the prohibition of force. These sustained attacks have placed Cambodia in an increasingly precarious and dangerous situation. Cambodia does not wish to be compelled into considering other means of response other than through diplomacy and dialogue to defend its people and uphold its territorial integrity. Your Excellency, Cambodia has consistently upheld its commitment to the peaceful resolution of disputes in full accordance with international law and the principles of the Charter of the United Nations, including the strict prohibition of the threat or use of force. Despite these deadly attacks, Cambodian forces have exercised maximum restraint and refrained from retaliatory response for 24 hours, out of its full respect for the ceasefire and Kuala Lumpur Peace Accord. However, Cambodia reserves its right to self-defense in accordance with Article 51 of the Charter of the United Nations. Thailand's actions represent a flagrant and continuous violation of the ceasefire agreement of 28 July 2025 and a fundamental breach of the Kuala Lumpur Peace Accord signed on 26 October 2025, whereby Thailand has unilaterally announced its suspension, undermining it through its offensive cross-border military operations based on unilaterally drawn maps contrary to the mutually agreed maps at the scale of 1 to 200,000, which are the results of the demarcation work of the Commission of Delimitation of the Boundary between Indochina and Siam, established by the Convention of 1904 and the Treaty of 1907 between France and Siam, recognized by the International Court of Justice, ICJ, and reaffirmed by Cambodia and Thailand in the Memorandum of Understanding on the Survey and Demarcation of the Land Boundary signed on the 14th of June 2000, MOU 2000. This MOU 2000 was registered at the United Nations by Thailand on 25 May 2011 and was published in the UN Treaty Series. These grave violations have severely impeded the enormous progress painstakingly achieved through bilateral negotiations and international facilitation. More importantly, they now constitute a clear and present danger to regional peace and security, and it is within the meaning of Articles 34 and 39 of the Charter of the United Nations that I urgently request the immediate attention of the United Nations Security Council. In light of the seriousness of the situation on the ground, and considering the urgent need to prevent further deterioration, the Royal Government of Cambodia, acting pursuant to Articles 34 and 35(1) of the Charter of the United Nations, and mindful of the Secretary-General's authority under Article 99, respectfully requests the Security Council to 1. Unequivocally condemn Thailand's unprovoked armed aggression against the Kingdom of Cambodia, in violation of Article 2(4) of the Charter of the United Nations and fundamental principles of international law. 2. Demand an immediate cessation of all attacks by Thai armed forces, including artillery bombardments and fighter aircraft operations, in violation of Cambodia's sovereignty and territory. 3. Demand that the Thai armed forces immediately cease their illegal armed aggression against Cambodia. Halt all attempts to invade or encroach Cambodia's sovereignty and territory through the use of unilaterally drawn maps, and fully respect internationally recognized borders and legally binding instruments. 4. Demand that Thailand cease all violations of international humanitarian law, including attacks on civilian areas and civil targets, and comply fully with the principles of humanity, distinction, and proportionality, and fully respect Cambodia's sovereignty and territorial integrity. 5. Dispatch an independent United Nations fact-finding mission to ascertain the facts on the ground, investigate Thailand's violations of international law, and determine its responsibility for civilian casualties and material destruction. Cambodia remains firmly committed to peaceful dialogue, diplomacy, and adherence to international law. We will continue to fully implement the ceasefire agreement and the Kuala Lumpur Peace Accord, despite Thailand's unilateral suspension and repeated violations of both instruments. However, Cambodia cannot and should not be expected to endure these unrelenting and unlawful aggression indefinitely. Your Excellency, I urgently appeal to the Security Council to take a decisive action. Thailand's actions represent not only an attack on Cambodia, but a direct affront to the international legal order and to the authority of this Council. The credibility of the United Nations and the integrity of the Charter demand a clear and immediate response. I would also highly appreciate it if Your Excellency could circulate this letter to the members of the Security Council as an official document of the Council. Please accept, Your Excellency, the assurances of my highest consideration. Chhea Keo, Permanent Representative, Kingdom of Cambodia to the United Nations. His Excellency Samuel Žbogar, Permanent Representative of the Republic of Slovenia to the United Nations. President of the United Nations Security Council for December 2025. New York,